Cowboys won last night, barely. Snuck past the field goal-loving Giants 20-15. Hey, Brian Daboll, try to punch one in, bud. Dak throws for 221 and 2 touchdowns. Here's Dak postgame.
Coming on the road, first division game. Division wins are always tough. As I said, then you add on the road before a long weekend. Puts a better taste in our mouth. But at the end of the day, as I've said, even after those 2 losses a couple weeks, or the past 2 weeks, it's a process. So we're not going to get complacent. We're not going to get overexcited about what we've done tonight. It's about building, and it's about figuring out what we can do better in all phases. But it's a lot easier to do that with the win.
Should Cowboys fans be excited with that win?
More relieved than excited. And it's dampened a bit by the injury news to Micah that we'll get to later, high ankle sprain. But I can tell you who shouldn't be excited by that win, Greg.
Okay.
This side of the table over there. These guys, your guys' anti-Cowboys narratives
were kind
of based on running the ball and stopping the run, right? How much they miss the patron saint that is Tony Pollard and how much they're unable to stop the run. And, after yesterday, we can just show you the guy Brew's been mocking all year, Rico Dowdle, is just him and Tony Pollard, tomato for the season. We'll see if that changes.
Got an extra game?
Okay, well, that's yards per touch.
Yes,
he's had an extra game. And if Pollard does in this next game what he did in the last game, add 13 yards to his total, and we can adjust it. That's fine. Wiles' narrative was they have the worst rush defense in the NFL, which was true.
That wasn't a narrative.
No, I said it was
true. Not a narrative that I have a purple tie on.
No, it's a narrative that it's good looking. It's not a narrative that it is purple, but it is true. But yesterday, it's not that they had a good run defense. It's that there have been 49 games played in the NFL this year. No run defense has done better in any game against any opposition. That's just.
I wonder why.
That's not. What do you mean?
Because do you think the Giants are a great running team?
No, I don't. Well, I don't think they are the worst in the league. And I don't think going
that's
into,
true because that's the Cowboys.
I don't think going into yesterday.
They're bottom 5, I believe.
Okay, so if the team that couldn't stop the run at all allowed 1.1 yards per rush on 24 rushes, which I'm going to guess will be the high water mark all season for any team in any game. If that wasn't at least a step in the right direction, I don't know what it is.
I'll give you a step.
So do you believe their problem against the run is solved?
I think they took a major step towards that yesterday.
They did fine. You're right. They held them to 26 yards on 24 carries. Great. It was, no offense, Devin Singletary running behind a decent so-so offensive line.
I think the Giants
they couldn't do anything with an Alvin Kamara. All right, they couldn't do anything with a Derrick Henry. So it was kind of on that end of the ball, it was kind of what we expect from the Cowboys against the tomato can. You look great as far as the run. But I'm not going to, and I agree, we never thought, at least I never thought, they'd be the worst run defense in the league all year. But I do think they got a problem stopping the run. So, no, relieved is good. You got to get a win, right? You're 2-2. Eagles don't look like world beaters. Nobody in the division was. Washington does look better. So now you have to contend with another team that may be good in your division. But overall, I can't be happy with that win. You got dominated in time of possession, 11 minutes. And the Giants, from the 30 to the 30, they marched all up and down the field. They just couldn't push it in, which as good as Daniel Jones looked at times, you got to put some of that on him, man. Push, give us one touchdown. That's all they needed. They might have won the game. They only got 1 sack, Nick. And obviously now the injuries, Micah and DeMarcus Lawrence are a problem. But they just got 1 sack against the Giants. So the Cowboys, Greg, I said earlier, I gave them a C because they looked common. And I think they are common. They're not a fringe contender to me anymore. They're not this 12-win type team. They're common.
That's fair. They shouldn't be excited, but they got the win. And so anytime you go into a game with questions, you hope to answer some of those questions. And that's what they did last night. And not just on the defensive side of the ball as it pertains to stopping the run. Yes, they stopped the run. I'm not going to just blow past that and act like it's nothing, because it was something.
Fair.
It was
Sure.
something coming in. It would have been something coming out if it was still a leak. Then it wasn't.
You say it. I'm
And
not.
so, I appreciate that. But when you look, even offensively, there was some tension there. Immediately to start the game, you're just pumping the ball to CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah.
Getting him going, getting him excited, getting him involved early, and look what it did to sustain your winning way. So for me, like, they answered a couple questions. One, defensively, can they stop the run for a game? Yes. Can they do it moving forward? We shall see. Also, can they actually move the ball effectively when CeeDee Lamb is going to garner all the attention? They did that last night, albeit again against the Giants. However, they got it done. And so I got to, as a player, when you watch the film, you're always going to see some positives, and you're definitely going to see some negatives. They clearly have still things that they can correct, but moving forward, they answered some questions for one night.
Okay. Dallas's defense did look better, like Greg mentioned, but did get some bad news about DeMarcus Lawrence's foot and Micah's high ankle sprain. Tom Pelissero reporting that both stars are expected to be out until after the Week 7 bye. Micah wasn't totally happy with the win. Take a listen.
Winning is important. It's hard to do in this league. So, edging out a 20-15 win, but it wasn't perfect, you know what I'm saying? I'm done scraping by. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to scrape by no more. I want legit wins. I want to win consistently. And we got a tough matchup next week. I'm going to try to get back for it.
Okay, so he said he's going to try to get back. That was before the MRI.
Yeah.
So your reaction, I think the injury news is the...
Yeah, listen,
headline.
they play Pittsburgh and then Detroit in the next 2 weeks. Detroit will just run the ball.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And now assuming Frank Ragnow, their center, is out for them this week, in a couple weeks you assume he'd be back. That would have been a very tough matchup for Dallas on that side of the ball, even with DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons. You're going to be, almost, I don't want to say impossible, but very much tougher without him. Pittsburgh, you would imagine, is going to, I would think, maybe unleash Justin as a runner on the read option stuff more than they have because of the success Lamar had against the Cowboys doing those things. So I think the Cowboys, without everyone else on their defensive line, is just a guy. Or, Mazi Smith, who we mentioned yesterday, had his first kind of good NFL game, but his first-round pick, their opening grows into something. Without those two guys, it might be the worst defensive line in the league. You lose your two Pro Bowl, all-pro level guys. The question to me is, can they get a split with Pittsburgh and Detroit without them? I think sure they can, and in which case they're fine. Because to Brew's point, I don't think Philly's – I think Philly's losing this weekend. I don't think Philly's running away with it. Washington is – a really cool story, and the offense is playing great, but I'm not penciling them in for double-digit wins. So I think that they'll be fine, but this is brutal news for them in the short term.
Yeah, I think they could be in trouble. Obviously, I think they're going to lose against Detroit. I think I'll pick Pittsburgh to beat them. They obviously have a chance of beating Pittsburgh, but I do think Mike Tomlin's going to run on them, and that's going to be problems. And then if Micah and Lawrence can come back, or even one of them after the bye, I mean, Micah wasn't playing terribly. He obviously wasn't racking up statistics, but he didn't have a sack again last night. He had a tackle for loss. But are Micah and Lawrence, who weren't playing great to begin with, when they get back on the bye, I mean, I guess it's possible they play great. Maybe the rest helps them. And it's possible that they're rusty, and maybe they were already rusty. And so, and then you got San Francisco as your first game back. So I think they could very easily be 2-4, Greg. And then you got San Francisco, the first game they got back. If you're 2-5, like, that could end your season.
Yeah, I agree 100%. We're just looking at the run impact that it might have. Like, you think about the amount of pass pressures that they will be not getting now, that will be eliminated, that then in turn affects the guys on the outside who has to now cover longer, that this defense is going to struggle. Like we saw last night, okay, a concerted effort to stop the run. Well, what suffered as a result of that?
The
pass game, the pass defense. So for me, when you don't have a guy who can just be a disruptor and Micah Parsons on the field, just to have offensive linemen ID him and know where he's at and assign guys to him, and then obviously the bookend to that, it's problematic because, as you mentioned, I'm not downplaying the fact that these are professional players, but they're not the stars that we're accustomed to seeing on this type of a defensive line, so they're going to be in trouble.
Okay. We're going to spend 2 minutes on this last segment and no more, okay?
Well, okay.
This is for Greg.
Yeah, turn our attention to Daniel Jones.